Ever feel like when you make a choice, its impact kind of ripples outward, like way beyond just you, like an echo that carries across time? That's what we're diving into today. This whole idea that our actions, especially about things like faith, they can echo down through the generations. We're looking at a talk from last month called For the Sake of Your Posterity.
Yeah.
Picture a huge conference, thousands of people, and our speaker is urging them to think about their family's forever story.
Ooh, I love that phrase, forever story.
Yeah,
It really gets at how we're part of something so much bigger, right? A narrative that goes way back and way forward.
right. Not just our little chapter.
Right.
And the speaker, he illustrates this with the coolest story about a simple taxi ride. He ends up meeting the driver named Omar. And get this, Omar used to be a member of the speaker's church.
Okay, so we're talking about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here.
That's right. And it turns out this was no random encounter. The speaker, Elder Godoy, felt so strongly it was destiny, like something was weaving their paths together.
I think lots of people can relate to that feeling of meaning in the unexpected. Makes you think, what stories are being written in all our lives?
Absolutely. And hold on, because it gets even wilder. So they're talking, and it comes out that Omar and his family haven't been active in the church for years. But Elder Godoy, he feels this overwhelming urge to tell Omar, right there in the taxi, that he believes God literally called him back to the church through this ride.
Wow. Talk about a bold move. What did Omar say to that?
You are not going to believe this. Omar was floored. Turns out he had been feeling this pullback towards his faith and this encounter, like the final push he needed. So guess what he does? Brings his whole family back to church. They get rebaptized, the whole 9 yards.
That is such a powerful example of how our choices, even unintentionally, can touch others in ways we can't even imagine.
Gives me chills, seriously. Like those sliding doors moments. What if Elder Joy had ignored that feeling, stayed quiet in that taxi? Omar's whole life could have been different.
No kidding. And that gets to the heart of what Elder Godoy is saying about the forever story, right? He wants people to realize their choices have this ripple effect, going way past their own life, influencing the generations after them.
Okay, so how does he break that down? What specific scenarios is he painting for his listeners?
So he lays out these two contrasting paths, almost like two sides of the same coin. First, he talks about people who were once super connected to their faith, but have kind of, for whatever reason, drifted away. And it's not just about them, right? He's really focused on how this impacts their kids and grandkids.
Okay, so how's he describing that impact? It seems, I don't know, like a kind of sensitive topic.
He doesn't shy away from it, that's for sure. He uses this phrase. He talks about how those descendants, the kids and grandkids, have been precluded from the protection and the blessings of their faith. And it's all because their parents or grandparents decided to just take a break.
Take a break. Wow. It sounds so casual, but in this context, it's heavy.
Mm.
Like taking a break, not just from rituals, but from like a whole way of life, a whole way of seeing things.
Right. And it gets at this thing where sometimes we don't realize what we've inherited until it's gone. Out of sight, out of mind.
It's so true. Makes me think about traditions in my own family. Like we have this silly song, we sing it every Christmas Eve.
Huh?
I never gave it much thought, but now I realize it connects me back to my great-grandparents. It's like
Yeah.
the traditions they brought from Europe or whatever.
Exactly.
Ah,
These little things can carry so much weight across generations. And to really make that point about long-term impact,
yeah.
Elder Godoy quotes a former leader from his church, Russell M. Nelson.
Oh, okay. What'd he say?
He's straight to the point, no chaser. Nelson says, "You and generations yet unborn will be blessed by your actions now to return to the covenant path."
Generations yet unborn.
Right.
Wow. You can feel the weight of that. It highlights how responsible we are, whether we're aware of it or not. But wait, it's not just folks who've drifted away completely, is it? He talks about another group, too.
You're right, he does. He kind of shifts gears to talk about those who are still active in their faith, but maybe not fully committed. They're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And the word he uses to describe them is kind of striking: lukewarm.
Lukewarm. Okay, yeah, that's a choice. It's like he's saying they're not cold, not hot, just room temperature.
And he's hinting that this lukewarm approach, it can be just as bad as drifting away completely, especially when it comes to the impact on their children.
Okay, so what's the consequence there? What happens if you're just kind of lukewarm in your faith?
He says, straight up, that by being lukewarm in their faith, parents risk their children not inheriting celestial glory alongside them. Tough stuff.
Celestial glory. Yeah, that's intense.
It is, especially within the context of their faith, right? But even if you're not super familiar with that belief system, I think the message still comes through loud and clear.
Oh, totally.
It's about how our lack of conviction, that unwillingness to fully engage it, can have lasting consequences for the people who look up to us.
Totally. It's like we might think we're just coasting, you know, but our kids, grandkids, they're picking up on that. They inherit that lukewarmness, and it shapes their relationship with faith, commitment, even things like passion or purpose.
Exactly. And Elder Godoy, to drive that home, he quotes another leader, this guy M. Russell Ballard.
Okay.
Ballard warns that choosing to, and I quote, walk no more with the faith community. It has a long-term impact. No two ways about it.
Man. These quotes today, they hit different, you know, this whole idea that our choices, they reverberate through generations.
It's a lot to sit with.
For sure.
But you remember that story about Omar coming back to his faith because he wanted something different for his kids, wanted him to have that foundation.
It's like Elder Godoy's urging us all to be those strong links in the chain of faith, you know, not the weak one that makes the whole thing fall apart.
And what I find interesting is, even though he's talking about faith here, this message, it goes way beyond religion.
100%. It's about legacy, right? What we pass down. Traditions, values, how we see the world even.
Exactly. Recognizing that what we do today, it's shaping tomorrow's world. Not just for us, but for everyone coming after.
So where does that leave us? What kind of legacy are we building?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Are we just on autopilot, or are we building that forever story we're proud to pass on?
Powerful stuff to think about. Sometimes the most important journeys, they start with a single question. Thanks for diving deep with us today.